Funny lady.
It ain't true. Get the adoption thing.
I'm ready. Rolling.
Ready?
Don't worry about the cars.
Okay, Kath. Walk slowly towards us around that tree.
Don't look at us. Tell her not to look at us.
You can walk.
Alright, I'm rolling. Don't worry about the cars. You're gonna get them.
All right, Kath.
She can go.
All right, walk a little more and then walk down the path.
Rolling. Anytime.
Okay, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Remember where you are. Great. Okay. You could start to turn around and walk past that tree.
Never keep going.
Keep on going, honey.
And cut.
Okay.
Go ahead. No, I'm rolling tape. I'll show Kathy after I roll it. Now you're in the movie. Okay. Yes.
Okay. And how much do you have of her?
I don't have her at all. She's gonna walk in frame.
Okay. You can start to come. You can walk.
Let's have her start again.
Hey, Kath.
I'm rolling.
Okay, slowly.
No, look bad. Rolling.
Okay. going.
She could look to her left. Stop and look out.
Can you stop and look to your left?
Even more.
Even more what?
Look to her left.
Even more look to your left.
She can come back.
What? Tell her to walk?
She can come back.
You have that little tree below. You do after you do that. Go back to her, and there's like a nice silhouette of her against that house and those pink flowers, maybe. Do you see?
Not a sign.
That is weird.
Now, I want you to climb up the tree.
Yeah, right. Anybody got a banana? It's gonna rain big time.
Place. Jeez.
Big storm.
This is really nice. These leaves falling.
Heavy problem finding us. I told you to stick out like a sore thumb.
No problem at all. I saw the van up there, so I figured y'all were over here somewhere.
This is Stan.
Hi.
Hello.
Eastview, and two of them are in Mount Bethel. Yeah, that's what the newspaper said now. We found one at Mount Bethel yesterday. We couldn't find the other one.
Yeah,
And someone said it might be at Shady Grove, so
that wouldn't surprise me.
yeah.
Hi, I'm Elaine Olsen-Ryder. I'm with
Hi,
the local
Elaine.
paper.
My name's Judith Hilton. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Are y'all having fun?
Okay, we're making a historical documentary about the general. Well, you could explain.
No, I'm just curious.
Yeah,
I wanted
we're-
to get the paper and I
Oh.
saw somebody filming it.
Yeah, we're making a historical film about the General Textile Strike of 1934.
You better watch it.
Whoops. And
People were running
Hey, don't get me, man.
Why not?
okay, and
You don't mind? Do you mind?
You mind if I put on a shirt?
were working at that time. They were just small children, and the one woman I got a hold of said her mother always told her that that's where her daddy's funeral was at, right there.
Oh, it was real. Talking about doing this, I'm from Roanoke Rapids, North Carolina. J.P. Stevens.
Uh-huh.
And I worked in the mill during the summers at J.P. Stevens. You know, they made the movie Norma Ray.
Yeah.
And I worked in her weave room.
Really?
Yeah, Norma Ray's weave room. I had no idea, you know, at the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And of course, that was before the union stuff got started.
J.P. Stevens
Oh,
was
after.
a hard nut to crack, too. It
Yeah.
took them forever to get something with them.
But I saw that movie,
Like
you know, and I
20-some
said,
years.
good gracious.
Yeah.
Had no idea all that
They
had taken
accused me of
place.
being Norma Ray sometimes. And I had nothing to be ashamed of, that's for sure.
But,
You didn't know that? That they had a funeral here?
I had no idea.
There were 7,000 people here around
Out
this
in
tree.
here?
All
Really?
out in here.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
It really is. That is interesting.
Did you know the story about why they were
Um,
here?
I've read in the Honeypath history book, you know, about the strikes, but I had no idea any of it was connected with this land or any.
You go to the library in Anderson and pull it up on microfilm,
Yeah.
it will blow your mind.
Really?
People were shot in the back,
Oh yeah, I've heard my
And the-
father-in-law talk about
and
it.
the
He's
company
from
shot him, and the police department shot him.
Yeah.
And for years, people thought the Union was the one that went down there and shot him, but it wasn't. And I went over there and read that stuff, and I couldn't believe it. My grandfather even testified at the inquiry, and my dad never told me till I was 38 years old.
Well, one thing I have looked at in the microfilm at the courthouse was a thing about the railroad track. You know, they took the tracks up a couple of years ago. And, you know, I wanted to know if it's my land, if I owe the railroad company, and it had down there about Dr. Shirley, who built the house, giving them the right of way in 1911. So the tracks were this track was put here in 1911. And see
A
where
world
I
of difference.
stopped, and I just got this done,
Yeah.
and I'm working over this way now. No, feel free. I was just curious.
Oh.
You know, really, there was a mass funeral for the people killed in the riots. Protest. Right.
Yeah. What amazed me is when they said that one was buried at Mount Bethel, and I went to Mount Bethel Church. And in 1934, that was a long way to go to bury somebody, because it was a long way from. I mean, I had to go out from Belton, and I kept going and going and going till I got there. And it was, we went. I had a friend of mine went with me, and we went out through that graveyard, and we started at the 1800s and went back. And then we got in the car and went through the middle, and this tombstone just stuck out at me, and it was the right one.
One thing somebody told me about this place, the old barn over here, you see it's got 3 doors on the side, this side of the track. Said that the railroad used to leave bathtubs out here. They would stop, and that was a pickup point for people in the area, you know, buying the bathtub. So Mr. Lindsay up here told me.
Hi.
You've been working on this with them for a while?
For about, 2 years ago they came. And then all of a sudden, another week, Judy called and wanted to see me again.
So did they film at the time, or did they just?
They
talk
filmed
to you?
last time they came, and then I spent all day Monday with them. And I've been with them since early this morning. And I want to thank you for doing this, because it's really important to me, to a lot of people.
Now, your father and your grandfather were both. Your father was 8 years old at the time, right?
Right.
Okay. And he was there when the.
He got
insurance
up out of the
happened?
bed. He was nosy. You know, 8-year-old boys are nosy. He got up out of the bed. His dad came home. They sent my granddad home. He was the night watch.
Yeah.
And they sent him home because they knew what was going to happen. He saw him with the guns in the mill. And he knew that there was going to be trouble, and they did too, and they didn't want him there as a witness, so they sent him home. And he came home early. My dad got up, snuck out the house, and went up there. He said they had an American flag and a lot of people up there. And he said he hadn't been there but a few minutes, and somebody hollered something about somebody having a picker stick, and the next thing he knew it was pop, 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 and people were falling, screaming, and running, and some of them fell, were crawling in the street, and they went up and shot them in the back again and killed them, make sure they were dead.
Yeah, the popular notion around here, the one that they want to believe is it was the National Guard that shot and killed the people,
National
right?
Guard didn't shoot anybody.
Okay, and
The,
that was based on eyewitness accounts?
yeah.
Yeah, just go up.
From
From
your
this from the
father?
it's from the microfilm at the Anderson Independent the library.
Yeah.
The Anderson, if you want to, you can go over there and look it up. It's in the 1934. I think it starts in August through November. If
Yeah.
you'll look around September the 1st through the 5th, it's got all kind of stuff in there about it.
And what exactly did your father see, personally?
He saw people being shot and falling in the street, and they ran. He ran back home. He said his cousin, I think his cousin was a year older than he was. He ran home, got in the closet, and wouldn't come out. He was so scared.
I know you're old, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, he kept this a secret from me for years.
When did he finally tell you?
2 years ago when they came.
Really?
Right before they came, that's when he told me. And I had to press him to get it out of him then.
So your grandfather didn't see anything, but your father did?
No, my grandfather was at home. They sent him home and he stayed there. No, he had testified at the inquiry that there were people with guns in the mill. And, but he didn't give out any names. But there's eyewitness testimony that named the people that were shooting, who shot who, how they shot them. There were women and children shot down there too.
Well, there were 6 people killed. How many people were
There's
wounded?
seven killed.
7 killed?
Uh-huh. There's a list of, I'd say, 15 or more that were wounded.
And this is where they had the memorial service?
They had the actual funeral here and then buried them at Eastview and Mount Bethel, and maybe, there may be one at Shady Grove.
Tell her why.
Why what?
Because none of the churches.
I don't know why.
From what I understand,
Yeah.
could you tell Kathy what you sort of said the common mythology was amongst folks?
Yeah, the National Guard shot him. I told him the National Guard didn't shoot anybody. In fact, my dad said that.
But so, are you saying that most people want to believe that most people? What was it that you said?
I can tell you it's a very touchy subject in the area, extremely touchy. It's hard to get people to talk about it. Yeah, and it has been for years. I mean, in a small town like this, to have 7 people killed, it's a traumatic event. I mean, even today, to have one person murdered is news for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yeah,
So you can imagine what it was like in
There
the
was
30s.
a boy here
It was a
murdered
mill
here.
town.
What, a month ago, 2 months ago, was a boy murdered here.
A little teenager.
Are you surprised that
No, I'm not
she's going to
surprised.
read the article? I mean, I get.
I knew her before when you worked for the paper before.
Yeah.
And she's a person that looks for the truth of what it is, good, bad, whatever, it's the truth. And I've never known Elaine to shade anything or whatever she tells it like it is.
No, it's been so many years. Why should you? You know, it's
Yeah.
the truth. The truth should be
Most
recognized.
of these people are dead, you know.
But their relatives are here now. Kathy,
Right.
You got to remember
Right.
that.
Well, but too, the relatives of the people that were shot are living with the fact. Back then, if the police shot you, you were a criminal. They've lived with the fact that people thought their relatives were criminals, and they were not. They were brave people. They stood up when nobody else would. They wanted better lives for their children and their generations ahead of them. They didn't want somebody like a mill holding. They lived in the mill house. They bought from the mill store. Everything. They were like trading their wages for their living. You know, I mean, they never saw money, as you would call it. And you couldn't move because you had to live in the mill. You had to keep your job to keep a house, a roof over your head.
But at the time, they had the right to organize.
Right. They were organized. They had a union here then.
What was that?
They had a union here then, when the strike was. There was a union local here because the president of the locals sang at the funeral. Gene Gilmer. It's in the paper.
Gene Gilmer? Not related to Billy, right?
I don't know. I'm related to Billy.
Yeah.
So I asked Daddy, did he know Gene Gilmer? And he thought something about a man, Gene Gilmer. This is Jean. I assumed that was a woman. She sang in the Sweet By and By, because it's in the newspaper in Anderson Independent.
What were some of the last names of the people that were killed?
Okay, there's a Lee Crawford, and Ira Davis, and there's a Smith man, Cannon, McCoy. No. I don't, Either he was one of the ones that got killed or he was solicitor one. I can't remember now.
Solicitor.
Rufus McCoy was the solicitor, I think.
Yeah.
There's a list of them in the newspaper over there. They're all listed down. You got it? Oh, Diane. Look at yourself doing things now. He said, you're going. I said, I'm going to hide under my chair with my eyes shut. I don't want to see it. I don't want anybody to know about this. I just got people to understand this people. And if anybody researched the whole thing. I know it was a nationwide strike,
Right.
and I'm not sure of all the reasons for it. But I do know in Honeypath they were complaining about bringing farm help in.
Well, this was at night, wasn't it? Early evening.
It was. It says 7:45 in the paper, but it doesn't say AM or PM. It must have been PM. Because my granddad was a night watch when he'd been going in at night,
That's true.
and they just sent him home. I can ask Daddy when you call me. I'll find out.
Okay.
But even now, there's people, that I've called up that, are in Daddy's age bracket, 60s and 70s,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll say, I'll tell you, but I don't want to talk to anybody about it. You can repeat what I say, or they'll call somebody else can find the information that I need. Like when I wanted to find that grave yesterday, I called a friend of mine who lives a couple houses up. She's 74, and she told me exactly how to get to it and everything. And she said, don't tell nobody I told you to get to it.
It's still that touchy.
Yeah. In another 20 years, probably won't be.
Gosh, that was 34.
Yeah, it was 60 years ago. But I would like to find out the child that was shot, if he's still living. I want to go look his name up again and see if I can find him.
How old is that child?
I think it said he was 5.
What was he doing out there?
His mother had him. He was with his mother.
So we're talking about men and women and children
Yeah,
who were
there was
in
2
front of the
women.
mill.
Yeah, there was 2 women that were shot. Neither one was killed. Lois McLean was one that was shot. And she went and testified and told who did what where. I'd like
Were
to
they
meet her.
convicted? People that
No,
did
they
this?
didn't do a thing to him. Now, this is what I've been told. Charlie Smith was on the sheriff's department. See, they deputized a whole mess of people.
Yeah.
Okay. They said he was a big man, and everybody was scared of him. And that he went and told anybody that saw anything and went up there and testified and put his name on it, or any of his friends, was a dead person.
Yeah.
And evidently Lois McLean didn't give a rip. She was like, Judy said I should have lived back then. I said, no, I'd be dead because I done told everything I saw. But I mean, back then people had families and children, and they knew they couldn't leave them, alone. And if they went and told what they knew they should tell it, but they couldn't. I mean, if somebody says I'm going to kill you if you open your mouth, most people won't say a thing. And let's face it, if you knew something was wrong down there and the police were involved in it, who are you going to go to? The governor was in on it, and everybody. Let's face it, the National Guard was called out. The governor was in on the whole thing.
Well, something similar happened in Belton about the same time, didn't it?
Well, no, the ones from Blair Mill came down here. It was called the Belton Mill then, I think.
Yeah.
And they came down here, and they were in with the strikers down here.
I thought there was a similar strike or some sort of skirmishes or something in Belton.
I don't.
And my father was living then, and he said he remembers something about that after I talked to him yesterday.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll ask Daddy if he remembers anything about it. But as far as I know, I know that some of them from the mill in Belton came to Honeypath when they were striking. And I think Blair Mill, or I think it was Belton Mill, it stopped for a week or so. There's even an ad in the Anderson Independent that merchants in Anderson bought. It thanked the cotton mill workers for not striking, the ones that stayed on the job. Big full-page ad, and then it's got all the merchants that paid for the ad listed at the bottom.
So you've done a lot of research on this.
Yeah. I got curious when they first said they were coming, and I thought, well, there's got to be something in the library. So I went over there, and the librarian said it was probably a microfilm. So we went and pulled it up, and the whole month of September is loaded with things.
I'm going to go back and look at our papers and see what we've got.
Yeah,
The older owners kept the papers that we can get access to.
yeah.
Okay, I'm going to have to run. Have you got...
I'll tell you, you might want to show her this, Kathy. I mean, this shows that there was this very organized local union here. I mean, this is just a letter from the president in 1933.
What was the whole gripe of the whole strike thing? What was the basis?
This was the period of time that the NRA was in effect, the National Recovery Act. Workers were given, and the textile code had been put in place, and there was an agreement between industry, management, and workers on workload conditions, hours, minimum wage, and recognition of the union, or at least that workers had the right to organize and join the organization of their choice and not be discriminated against because of their union activity. And the opposite occurred. There was a tremendous amount of union discrimination, and rather than comply with a lot of the new workload orders, and the minimum wage, there was a tremendous stretch out that occurred throughout the industry. And workers had always anticipated that the government would protect them.
Yeah.
And the government would make sure that all of these new codes were complied with. And when they didn't, and they felt like their grievances were not being made known to the public or really to the government, the only thing that they had left to do was to make a public presentation, and that's where that strike came out. But you might, this is just written by to say, I mean, I'm wondering, I guess I'm that, yes, no, I'm, in a lot of towns, particularly with an occurrence like this, I mean, so many people have been afraid, so many people have been,
Yeah.
that maybe you could explain that I guess I was surprised because we've encountered.
Well, yesterday when I told her that I was going to call you, she says, "Oh, really?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "You think she'll do it?" I said, "Yeah, she'll do it." I said, "I'm sure." And she said, "You're kidding." I said, "No." She said, "You mean she's going to come down and talk to us?" I said, "Yeah."
Well, I think as the editor of the paper here that you should present the facts, whether they're good or bad or whatever the situation might be. And then you owe the community, you owe them that, to present what's going on and present what's happening in that kind of situation, whether it's a small community or not. So, yes.
So is the town ready to talk about this?
I really don't know why not. I really wouldn't understand why not. Now, I know that the older people will tell you that no, they're not, that it is a subject that they don't want to approach, and I think it's because of the deaths that were involved in the situation, and I also think that's probably why the community is so anti-union now, because they don't really, it doesn't all register, but what registers is the tragedy that occurred. And that's what
They associate union and death together.
Right. Back in the 30s when it was a mill village, this town was built around a mill, so was Belton. That was the situation. Now they're a little bit more diversified. It's not like that anymore. It's the same situation in Belton. Their mills are closed, basically, except for one. So, I'm not sure if it's just because it's a younger staff now over there or what, but I'm not, it's the way the situation is. So, I'm going to have to go.
We really appreciate this.
Okay.
You didn't know how much.
Okay.
How much do you appreciate this?
A lot. I really do. It means a lot. And I know she'll do us right. I trust her. I'm going to tell you that since you've taken that paper back, oh God, it's so much. I used to go buy it just for the yard sales. I'm telling you, that's the only reason I bought that paper was for the yard sales. And now her daddy writes this column in there, cracks me up talking about family reunions. And I mean, I cried. I was sitting there and I thought about my grandma and going to family reunions. And I can remember that #2 wash tub with the ice in it and all that stuff. You know?
Reunion tea.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's got okra, slimy okra coming up
Yes.
next week.
Uh-huh. I never could pick that stuff. I get blisters in between my fingers.
Oh,
I can't pick peaches either. I can't do either one. Anything with fuzz on it, I can't handle.
Okra's fine if you don't boil it.
I know. Fried okra's good.
You ever seen boiled okra?
It's like a bowl.
Oh, God, have you ever eaten fried okra? Yeah, well, you don't want to eat boiled okra.
Yeah, I mean, you can just, you can sit it out here and it would run 20 miles. It's just slimy, you know. It looks like a snail has been running, and it leaves. You know, it's terrible.
It's pretty bad. What number can I reach you?
Nice meeting you. And I hope that if there's more information, you want more context, I think that that other article will help.
Right, that'd help
You
a
could
lot.
quote it too. I mean, you could say in the Charlotte Observer.
Right.
Yeah, she writes articles. She
I know.
probably knows how to do it. At any time.
Okay, it's raining. Don't worry about it.
We like the rain.
This will match. Can you see that it's raining?
Yeah, I can also hear you. So let's just not talk unless you have to talk to her. Tell her to think about the funeral.
Kathy, think about what was happening here. Think about sweet by and by.
Just tell her to hold it.
Just stand. Should she be looking at us?
No.
Should she look back towards...
No, I think it's done.
You know, Kathy, just look back towards that way. To your right. Not towards us, just towards your right. Yeah.
Why don't you have her do a big sweeping look, starting
Okay.
back at, coming back towards you.
Can you do a sweeping look coming back towards us?
Just, yeah.
Yeah.
And you could walk right past us.
It's the wrong song.
Walk right past us.
Yeah,
Come here.
that's taken over then. I'll have to ask you where it is.
I gotta find out because this neighbor of mine told me about it.
Okay. So you're saying that you own this field, you've been living here all this time, and you didn't know anything about this?
I had no idea. I knew about the riots in the 30s, but I had no idea about the a mass funeral being held in this particular field.
And
Had
it's-
no idea about it.
And it's yours.
Correct. Since 1972, when we bought the property, a house and the property. But I had no idea there was a mass funeral held out
Did you know that, can you tell about your wife? That keeps asking the kids?
there. Oh yeah, my wife teaches 5th grade at Honeypath Middle, a couple of blocks up the street. And this past year she was asking the kids, she said, go home and ask your grandparents, you know, about the 30s riots and so forth. And they came back with information and so forth, but nothing on this particular spot right here. Nothing whatsoever. None of them knew, or none of them were told, or maybe they were at the age that, you know, their grandparents were not involved in it then. Maybe their great-grandparents or
Right.
something.
Well, it took me several phone calls. And the only way I found out is the woman that called, this woman wasn't even born. The only reason she knew it was here is because her mother was pregnant with her when her father got killed. He was one of the ones that got killed. And every time they came by here, she said, that's where they had your daddy's funeral. And she knew it was here. That's the only way we found out it was here.
So people still
Just-
think about it
yeah.
pretty deep. Huh?
You were thinking about a memorial?
Yeah. I wish we could do something. I mean, they've got a war memorial downtown. And these people died. Their lives were just as important as those. I mean, I wish there was some way I could raise some money and put a plaque down here on this corner or something that, or put like a little granite bench or something, like a meditation place or something.
Well, I tell you, if you start to do organize something, just let me know. You know,
Okay.
Because I'm fully agreeable with the history of the town. I'm not a native of Honeypath, like I have been since '72, but
Yeah.
but
I think
I'll
it's
be glad to work
important.
with
You
you.
know, I think it would be a healing thing for a lot of people that have more or less been not settled with the way things are, the relatives that are left behind.
Yep.
And I think they need a place to say they did the right thing.
okay. Well, just let me
Yeah.
know.
Okay.
And I'm glad to find out about the history.
Okay, I appreciate
really am.
you letting us film here. It's real important to
No
us.
problem. I'm glad I saw you this morning.
Yeah, I'm glad you did too. Good thing you came out to get the paper, huh?
That's right. Okay, nice meeting you.
It's nice to meet
talking
you.
with
Leave it like that. I'm shooting, so you just stay steady. Okay, could you stop for a second? Go for it. That's great speed. Just where you are. Just keep it steady. Real steady. Slow. Take it right on red. slow.
Thank you.
When you coming back?
Could be next week. Could be a couple of weeks. Could be for the memorial that you're setting up.
We'll try.
You'll call me and let me know in the next couple of days.
Yeah.
You got our 1-800 number.
Yeah.
All right. It's our nickel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm gonna call you with the phone number of those folks. The Carolina Alliance for Fair Employment. They're your next family. You were great. You were the best. Yeah.
Good job.